What you call leg strength probably isn't strength at all. It's size. The two are not the same thing, which is why a man can squat 200 kilos on Monday and roll his ankle stepping off a curb on Tuesday. If your legs have never been trained to hold, to shift, and to land, then they've been decorated, not built. Quick question before anything else. How long can you stand on one leg with your eyes closed? Don't guess. Actually hold that number in your head, because we're coming back to it at the end, and it tells you more about your legs than anything written in your training log. The monks at Shaolin worked this out roughly 1500 years ago and built a leg system with almost no equipment. No racks, no machines, no plates. What they had instead was time, position, gravity, and a level of patience modern training has almost entirely abandoned. The result is legs that don't just look strong under a barbell, they stay strong in the only place that matters, which is everywhere else. And it starts with the thing your gym has no word for. The position that breaks people in 90 seconds. Ma-bu, the horse stance. Thighs parallel to the floor, shins vertical, spine stacked, and then nothing. You stay there. That's the entire exercise, and it sorts people fast. The traditional monastery standard is 5 minutes without shifting. Most people who take legs seriously, squatters, cyclists, runners, come apart somewhere between 45 and 90 seconds. Not because the muscle fails, but because they've never asked a muscle to produce force without movement to distract them from it. Here's where it stops being mystical. Sports science spent the last decade rediscovering long isometrics, and what it keeps finding is that holding a loaded position changes tendon and connective tissue in a way repetitions don't. Muscle adapts fast, 6 to 8 weeks and you can see it. Tendon runs on a timeline closer to 6 to 12 months. That gap is exactly why people get strong and then get hurt. The engine outgrows the chassis. This builds the chassis. And almost everyone gets it wrong the same way. They let the hips drift backward, so the load sinks into the lower back and the stance quietly turns into a hinge. It isn't a hinge. Shins vertical, knees tracking over the toes, tailbone dropping straight down as if a rope were pulling it to the floor. If your lower back burns before your thighs do, you're not doing this drill. You're doing a very slow deadlift. 3 holds of 45 seconds, 3 days a week. 3 continuous minutes in 8 weeks is realistic. Sounds modest. Try it tonight. But a stance you only ever hold is half a skill. What the monks do next is the part almost nobody outside the tradition copies. Moving without ever standing up. In the monastery, the stances aren't destinations. They're a sentence, and the training is walking through them without ever returning to standing. Bow stance into horse stance into bow stance, 20 meters across the courtyard, low the whole way. Roughly 30 to 40 transitions per pass, 3 passes. The arithmetic is what makes it brutal. A normal squat set gives you 10 to 15 loaded knee excursions and then 2 minutes of rest. This gives you 30 plus with no rest and no vertical break at all. Compare that to how most people train legs. Straight line, fixed plane, seat locked, one direction. Your knees and hips have to survive a world that arrives sideways. Rotational and lateral loading is where most non-contact knee injuries actually happen, and it's precisely the loading a leg press is engineered to remove. Shaolin trained it as the default. The gym trains it almost never. The error here is universal, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. People rise up between stances, 6 inches, sometimes less. They bob upward to make the transition easier and hand the load back to gravity for half a second. And that half second was the exercise. Put a hand flat on your head as a marker. If the hand travels up and down, you're cheating. Your head should glide across the room as if it were on a rail. 3 passes of 20 meters, twice a week. And once you can move forward low, there's a direction the modern gym has essentially forgotten. Sideways. The kick nobody can do slowly. Everyone can kick fast. Momentum is free. What Shaolin trains is the kick that never once borrows it. Straight leg raised in front, 3 seconds up, brief hold at the top, 3 seconds down, 30 per leg. No swing, no leaning back, no hand on the wall. Somewhere around rep 15, the height starts collapsing, and that collapse is the honest test. It isn't your hamstring flexibility failing, it's your hip flexors, the deepest of which is the psoas, running out of the strength to hold your own leg up against gravity. That muscle is a blind spot. It's one of the few that connects your spine directly to your femur. It's involved in every step you take, and almost no popular program strengthens it on purpose. It gets stretched, rolled, complained about, and left weak. Then people wonder why their stride shortens with age, why they start scuffing their toes on stairs, why the last 2 inches of a step quietly disappear. The common error is chasing height instead of control. Swinging the leg teaches your nervous system to tolerate a range you have no strength in, which is roughly the definition of an injury with a date penciled in. The monastery rule is unglamorous. You own the height you can reach with control, and not 1 centimeter more. Chest height with a swing and hip height without one means your kick is hip height. Train from there. 30 per leg every other day. Within a month, you'll notice a longer, quieter walking stride, which is exactly what the next drill is about. The part everyone skips. Your calves and your Achilles tendon. One number reframes the whole thing. When you run or land from a jump, the Achilles handles roughly 6 to 8 times your body weight. For an 80-kilo person, that is well over half a ton, traveling through a strip of tissue about the width of your thumb several thousand times a day. Gym culture treats the calf as a cosmetic muscle. Shaolin treats it as the connection between you and the ground, which is a far more accurate description. Train it 2 ways. Slowly first. Rise onto the toes over 3 seconds. Hold 2 at the top, lower over 3. All the way down until the heel drops below the step. 15 reps, twice. Slow, heavy loading is what actually stiffens a tendon and turns it into a better spring. Then quickly, small, sharp hops with the knees nearly straight, spending as little time on the ground as possible. 30 of those. The mistake is doing only fast, half-range, straight-legged raises. Straight legs train one of the 2 calf muscles. Bend the knee slightly on some sets, and you reach the soleus underneath, the one that carries you when you walk. Do these barefoot on a hard floor. There is a reason monks train on stone. A cushioned, elevated heel does the tendon's job for it. The pit. There's a story about Shaolin told so often it's become folklore. A young monk digs a pit, stands in the bottom, jumps out. Every week he digs it deeper. 3 years later, he's leaping out of a hole taller than he is. Most people hear that and fix on the jump. Wrong half. The monks cared far more about the landing. Landing forces run somewhere between 3 and 5 times body weight through the legs, depending on height and technique. That's the largest load your body will ever handle, and almost nobody trains it deliberately. People train pushing, lifting, driving upward, then spend their 40s absorbing forces they never prepared for, 1 curb at a time. Your version needs no pit. Step off something knee height, land on both feet, and land silently. 20 landings. Silence is the whole metric. Sound is unabsorbed force, and unabsorbed force goes somewhere, usually your knees. The mistake is the one people are proudest of, landing stiff and upright, legs locked, sticking it like a gymnast. That's not control, that's a collision. Ankles, knees, hips should each fold a little on contact, in that order, like a spring compressing. Toes first, heels settling after, knees staying over the toes and never caving inward. A room full of people doing this correctly makes almost no noise at all. 20 landings, twice a week. Which brings us back to the question from the beginning. 10 seconds, 1 leg, eyes closed. How long did you last? A 2022 study followed adults between 51 and 75 and gave them one simple test. Stand on 1 leg for 10 seconds. Those who couldn't had roughly double the risk of dying from any cause over the following 7 years compared to those who could. Balance isn't a party trick, it's a readout of everything beneath it. Ankle strength, foot control, hip stability, and how well your nervous system coordinates the 3. Shaolin has trained this forever as Golden Rooster stands on 1 leg. 1 leg down, the other knee lifted to hip height, spine tall, 60 seconds aside. Then close your eyes and go for 15. Removing vision strips away the sense your body leans on hardest and forces the small stabilizers in the foot and ankle to work alone. The mistake is gripping, clenching the toes into the floor as if holding on. The wobble is the training stimulus, not the failure. The corrections are the reps. Keep the foot soft, keep breathing, let yourself sway. You rebuild stability through movement, not by going rigid. Where to actually start? 3 days a week, around 30 minutes. Open with the horse stance, 3 holds, as long as you can manage, a full minute of rest between them. Then stance walking, 3 passes of 20 meters, low the entire way. Then 10 drop stance shifts each direction, heels down. Then the slow kicks, 30 per leg, no swinging. Then 20 silent landings. If you can hear yourself, lower the height. Finish with balance, 60 seconds aside, eyes closed for the last 15. 2 rules. Sharp joint pain is a stop signal, not something to breathe through. And progress here is counted in seconds held and centimeters of depth, never in weight added. Give it 8 weeks, about 24 sessions. Stairs change first, then your walk. Then one day you catch yourself standing on one leg to put a shoe on without noticing you did it. That's the point. This strength never shows up in the mirror. It shows up in your 70s.